What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, World Class Hustler, Pharaoh Edmondson, back at you with another video. Man, sorry, it's been a good little minute. This week has been a hectic little week. The past few weeks, a lot of events have happened, since the last time I made my I'm Back video. Hope you guys enjoyed, man. I know my subscriber counts are still kind of small, but I am gonna get more active and put more content on my channel. So stay tuned. Video today is analysis and the prediction / overview of my favorite college football team, which would be the Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs. Woo, 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 woo. So, Georgia is 12-0, undefeated. This is the first time ever because I'm only 30 years old. This is my first time ever witnessing them having an undefeated season. Because, of course, the last time Georgia went undefeated was the 1980 season. And that was back in the last time when they won a national championship with Herschel Walker and head coach Vince Dooley. Wasn't born to see that, so I'm not able to relive, the hurrah and the greatness of that team. So, pretty much, I have to rely on what's happening ahead and what's going to happen Saturday when we play Alabama Crimson Tide. The whole overview of this team this year, I'm very impressed. I am very impressed. Three things. One, the offense. The offense have improved. They have improved like dramatically. Like they have improved very, very like. I have to give kudos to Ty Monkey, our offensive coordinator. He has done a phenomenal job on scheming, getting to the end zone. We've had troubles. Wouldn't say last year because it was alright last year when he first came in. He was getting his feel of the team, and plus we had a quarterback issues. During the beginning of the season last year, it was supposed to be Jamie Newman, who we picked up as a transfer from Wake Forest, but he ended up dipping out on us like literally 2 weeks or a week and a half before the season started, like because on some COVID shit. I just thought that was some weak shit, and he just skipped out on his team. But then we also got JT Daniels that summer, but he wasn't cleared for some strange reason, even though the the team doctor cleared him. I guess his personal doctor and his parents, they didn't want him playing. So we had to start off the season with Stetson Bennett and at the time DeJuan Mathis, who was shaking like hell, who never really was not that good. And come to find out, even at Temple, he's not even thriving there as well. So, but this year, other than last year, the offense have made great improvement. We came in this year with a whole bunch of injuries. George Pickens ended up getting an ACL tear early spring. I believe it was like the first week of March. Dominique Blaylock was coming off his ACL tear. I thought he was going to be able to start the season, but he wasn't confident at the time. There were says that he was going to be available for the Florida game at best at the earliest, but he ended up catching a leg injury, kind of like I guess like a sprain or something, like his lower leg. So he ended up missing like more time. So them two, Kyrios Jackson, he was coming off with a little minor injury. I guess he had to go through a little with his knee, a cleanup in his knee for surgery. So he was like not 100%. Jermaine Burton, he was all right. Arian Smith at the time was good. Marcus Rosenme, St. Jack, he was or Jack Saint, my bad. He was straight. Darnell had a foot injury 2 weeks before the season, so we was expecting him around Arkansas game. Tyke Smith, who was our one of our safeties or slash star position, he was out for the he was out with the same foot injury Darnell caught, so he was out all the way up to like the, I think like Arkansas game as well, or at least to the Florida game. It was just injuries flurry with injuries, and then the first game, Tate Ratledge, one of our star offensive line, he ends up getting an injury, ended up missing the rest of the year. We were just flooding with injuries, especially on offense. So we ended up having to rely on our true freshmen who came out big this year. I'm very ecstatic and I'm very proud of those guys. Donnie Mitchell, who was a 3-star, who we picked up. He's really playing like a 4-star, a straight stud. Lad McConkey, who's like our modern day like Hunter Renfro from Clemson, like out there getting it. And last but not least, my man Brock freaking Bowers, the tight end, number 19, killed it this year. Straight killed it this year. I'm so upset that he was not awarded the Mackey Award. I'm like, out of all, I just can't make my mind. That was definitely like the biggest snub of the year. If they I understand people want Jordan Davis as the Heisman and stuff, be a Heisman finalist, and that's fine. But I looked at it, I was like, bro, Brock Bowers gotta get the award, Mackey Award, and I said that like in the middle of the season. The fact that he was snubbed for the award, it kind of gives me an eyebrow, and I gotta kind of question some of these goddamn polls and these people who award these awards. I'm like, I gotta like raise my eyebrow at that, because I'm like, he was literally like the best freshman on offense this year, period, hands down. So those 3 players definitely came alive. Throughout the year, players was getting more healthy. They was coming in. Arian Smith ended up catching another injury, ended up being out for the year, which that's fine, because everybody else up to now it's like 100%. Kyrie's Jackson's playing like a stud. Jermaine Burton, Marcus Rosemy, of course, Lad McConkey, and Donnie Mitchell. We got so many weapons. Darnell is playing very well. Brock Bowers, like our offensive line is definitely coming through. So, and then Stetson Bennett, he's like our game manager, but he's been very like pass efficient. Haven't been having to do too much, because we've been throughout the season, we've been carrying the game and just been crushing opponents. Like I said, I'm only 30 years old. I was born in 1991. So this is new to me. I've never seen our team crush so many opponents. Like our average win is like 31, and like beating teams 31 points average. Like it's just mind-boggling to me. So second, defense. You couldn't ask for a better defense this year. You couldn't ask for the better defense. Like, I think everybody in the country, in college, would love to have Georgia defense right now. When you talk about players like Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Trayvon Walker, Adam Anderson, even though he's dealing with a case of a rape case, that our whole brother can climb over that mountain over that, because Lord knows we need another black man being the face of that crowd, like, even though we're not. But the individual that took his place, Channing Tittle, like, that front seven that front seven is very dangerous. And I said it in the beginning of the year, even though I wasn't there. I told people, I said, man, coming into this game, especially when we had Clemson, because Clemson defense is stout because they got Brent Venables as a defensive coordinator, who's a most respected defensive coordinator in the nation. I said Georgia has the best front seven. I don't see anybody having a better defense than us. I'm sorry. Like, our front seven just looks so stout this year, and especially when you look at it on paper. I said not even on paper. These players have played with each other so long that this year they're going to make something shake. And they did. And you couldn't ask for any more from them, especially Jordan Davis, who played like a true stud this year. Our secondary. Now, secondary, people rose questions about that because we were kind of short staff on the cornerbacks because we had so many leave for the draft. Eric Stokes, Richard LeCount, Tyson Campbell, DJ Daniel, and what's his name? Tyree Stevenson. But he didn't go for the draft. He ended up transferring to Miami, which I don't know why to this day, because he would have gotten the starting job. I don't know why he left, especially when we were short in that position. And because of that, we had to go to the transfer portal and get Darian Kendrick, who, to my surprise, Clemson just let him transfer. He's a solid cornerback. And Keely Ringo, even though he's a freshman, he's a 5-star. Like, he's a number one cornerback, like the number one player in the nation at the time in his class. So I think, starting him this year was very good. And Lewis Seen, of course, our safety, and Christopher Smith. I think our secondary is pretty good. Our secondary, people say, haven't really been tested because the front seven has been so damn dominant getting to the quarterback. But even so, when we couldn't, the safeties have been in our DBs. I have to say they have held their own. They have let some blown coverages go here and there, especially during garbage time. Like when we were supposed to like beat these teams like 38 plus, we end up giving like a touchdown, like literally like 3 minutes in the fourth quarter left. And I'm like, damn, some of the games, like for instance, when I went to 2 games this year. I went to the Arkansas game. Was very pleased with that. We ended up getting a shutout with that. And I love how we played Treylon Burks. I think he only had like less than 10 yards or 15 yards. He barely caught the ball that game. I was very ecstatic how the defense played. I went to that game. I also went to the Kentucky game. The Kentucky game was, I think it was like what? It was 30-6, and we were supposed. I was like, the point spread was 42, and like literally seconds within the fourth quarter. Like I think it was like 5 seconds left, 1 or 2, 12. Like literally, they ended up giving up a touchdown, and I was like, well, damn, that covers the spread. But my thing is, I wanted to keep them at 6 points. I knew we was gonna get that revenge on Florida. That was very happy sight to see. That was a very revenge game. Nolan Smith took that joker personal and played like a stud to the point when Anthony Richardson was trying to run the ball, when he did, Nolan Smith took that ball and snatched that mug out of his goddamn arm and ran it back. I thought it was a whole touchdown, but they said his knee hit the ground when Richardson touched him. But we still ended up scoring on that drive. But I was very like that whole game was definitely I was definitely pleased. Tennessee, we did very well. That was a up-tempo offense with what's his name, Josh Hopewell, the head coach there. I think I pronounced his last name correct, Hopewell or Hopewell, one of the two. But ran that up-tempo offense. We had to fake a few injuries to kind of slow it down, but they kind of did it like in the last seconds of like the last minutes of the game. I was like, the game was already won. So Devontae Wyatt was sitting over there laying down. Jordan Davis sometimes sitting over there faking injuries. I was like, hey, it is what it is, you know. Whatever you do to get the win. So we did, you know, we did that. And here we are. A day before the damn SEC championship game going against Alabama. And I just have to say, before I get into my predictions of the SEC championship game, I want to say that shout out to all the staff again. Kirby Smart is definitely learning. He's definitely has made a lot of improvement ever since he's taken this you know, he came to this program. He has definitely flipped Georgia around to now a contender, you know, fly for the playoffs and for national championship. I've even, you know, was even shocked. You can never tell me to this day that Kirby Smart would come in and make a direct impact, especially when he took us to the Natty in his second freaking year as a head coach. His second year. I can't recall a coach doing that within a short amount of time of them being in a new program. In his second year. Nick Saban didn't even win his first Natty till I think like after about almost close to 9 years of coaching. Because I think he won his first one in 2003 with LSU. And he's been coaching since the mid-90s. So, yeah, it took him damn near almost 10 years to get his Natty. Or even go there, to be exact. The fact that Kirby is in his 6th year right now, and he was able to go to the national championship, even though we lost, and it was a heartbreaking loss. We gave up that lead, went to overtime, and it's just, I don't like thinking about it, but it is what it is. Shout out to Alabama, you know, for making the adjustments. But the fact that Kirby Smart was able to do it in a short amount of time, especially all those years of having Mark Richt, and don't get me wrong, Mark Richt is a good coach, but he was more like a good coach, but he was in the wrong era. You put Mark Richt playing style of how his football philosophy was in the 90s, or kind of like when Vince Dooley gave up the reins before we got Jim Donnan. I think Mark Richt probably would have been more successful, and probably, I mean, this is hypothetically speaking, would have been national championship contenders. But he was just a good coach in the wrong era, especially when people, the offense was starting to become more pass heavy, and people like Alabama and Florida, who were powerhouses, were switching up their offenses. So he just couldn't keep up with the times, especially with Mike Bobo. And Mike Bobo, he's all right, but it was just their play calling was just and the fact that Kirby came in, and my thing is, Kirby tried to continue that tradition when we had Jim Chaney, and then when we had to go and get James Coley, who is a horrible, in my opinion, a horrible offensive coordinator. I never running that 18, 13 personnel shit. I'm like, no. So you just don't put, the way how offense and defense is ran in today's time, you won't put up a lot of points that way. Which is why, you know, even with Jim Chaney, we put up some points, which is why we went to the national championship. We didn't win that by Jake's from arm. We ran that mostly because of our schemes with our running backs, which we had 2 stud running backs, Sony Michel and Nick Chubb. And then you also had Miko Hardeman as our wideout. So, and a good offensive line. And then we just had a stout defense. So it's definitely been a change. Shout out to Matt Luke, our offensive coordinator. I mean, not offensive coordinator, our offensive line coach, who definitely has that offensive line on spot. Is definitely one of the best in the countries, especially if you want to look more towards Bama, which Bama has given up a total of like 36 sacks of the year. Their offensive line is like 112th in the league. I'm like, that is like the worst that we've ever seen Alabama's line, and they thrive off having like great offensive line. I've been shocked, especially how Auburn did they ass like last week. Like, you literally sat right here and had to play a freaking coming out of the deep water from choking game with freaking Auburn, which they were like, doesn't even have not near as a good defense. And they came out looking like they was like the top 5 defense in the nation. How they played Bama. I think I believe Auburn got like 8 sacks that game. 8 freaking sacks. And the way that they was playing, and plus Bo Nix was injured, so he didn't play that game. And so TJ Philly played, and he was injured in his, I think he was like his lower right leg or something like that. It's just that whole game was just Alabama. It's not the same Alabama team that we know. But before I go into them, let me finish off. Just shout out to the coaches house. Shout out to our defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning. He's growing. Got that defense on lock as well. Offensive coordinator, of course, Ty Munkin. So that's that. Now let's go on to the third, which is the prediction of Saturday's game, the SEC championship game. This was a long-awaited game. People early in the season wanted to see this matchup. Both teams are basically have of course, they have their flaws and stuff. Alabama pretty much has that fire rocket arm, Bryce Young, who damn near throws like 50 time per attempts a game. But, he's also a Heisman candidate. So, him and Stetson Bennett about the same size, 5'11", very short. Well, not short in football size, even though 5'11" is above average height. But, he looks like he looks like your Russell Wilson out there, since Russell Wilson's like 5'10", 5'11". Their wideouts is very dangerous. John Mechie and Jamison Williams. They're both studs. You gotta watch out for them. They're not big wideouts. They are fast as shit. They're like one of those 6'1", 6'2", 190-something pound speedsters that can definitely kill you on man-to-man coverage. Like, if you cannot lock them down, you are going to have safety over the help. I believe Dan Lanning knows this, which is, I believe it won't be a lot of man-to-man coverage. If it is, they're going to rely how our front seven to get to the quarterback. If you can get, that's their one weakness, their offensive line. If Georgia can get through that Alabama's offensive line, Bryce Young is going to have a long day. He's not going to have a bunch of time to throw. And that Auburn game proved that. And even with Jamison Williams out there, it wouldn't have done him no good because he didn't have him left time. And Auburn don't even have not even the top 15 defense. Probably not even the top 20. But yeah, if you don't give him you gotta stop Bryce Young. Cannot give him no time. I looked at some reports. Brian Robinson, their running back, has been day to day. even though he's solid, Georgia has been very good with the run defense, especially Jordan Davis, a run stopper. We can, and if he does play, he's not going to be nearly 100%, so that's still going to be our advantage. And they're down, and because they have so many injuries, Bama, they're only down to their one halfback. Their one halfback. I think his name is Trey Sanders, and even Trey Sanders, he had to overcome a car accident, a bad car accident, and then he had a couple of injuries, if I'm not mistaken. So he had to been like the unsung hero, like for the last tail end of the season. So they really down to one healthy back. Shout out to Janice on YouTube, but he's like, after him, they said their next running back will be a linebacker. And I was like, damn. So I expect for Bama to run a bunch of wheel routes, bunch of like slants, because they know that Georgia front seven is tough. So what we can do is to stop that on offense, on their offense. We're going to have to run like a cover 2 shell defense, or if they're going to want to try to take long shots, which they definitely will. They definitely will, because Bryce Young looks for those deep passes, which is why that amounts to a lot of sacks that he had, because a lot of that 36, giving up 36 sacks and stuff, a lot of that has to do, part of that also has to do with Bryce Young keeping the ball and doing too much, really. Trying to look for those big, like, I call them Patrick Mahomes plays, where you want to throw it 50, 40 to 60 yards down and just implode the offense. That takes a special kind of player, special kind of receiver, special kind of play, a blown coverage, and quite frankly, some luck to constantly to try to look for those plays and make that be successful. You have to, in football, you have to see what's in front of you and make logical and smart plays, which Bryce Young sometimes wants to be the hero of the narrative of the offense. And he's definitely going to try for the SEC championship. He's going to, because they don't have a running game, they're going to throw the ball at least 50 attempts. He's going to throw that ball at least 50 attempts. They have no choice. They got to. So, and the crazy thing, Alabama has not thrown any slants this year. Not slants, any screens. No halfback screens, no nothing. So it would be interesting of a team who hasn't thrown any screens going to try to make the adjustments in this game. But it's going to be interesting. The defense definitely have to be on point. They have adjusted to all kind of offenses this year. That last one was really Tennessee, the up tempo. People say it was a trap game, and I kind of thought about it because it was an offense that we haven't played, up tempo, and it's something that we're not used to. Kind of like last year, we wasn't used to the air raid offense with Mike Leach, and we ended up giving 35 points. But because it was JT Daniels who we started, we was able to go neck and neck, and we end up winning that game by a touchdown. So I think if we gonna sit over here and do a shooter, we can't. In our offense, go back to our offense, we cannot allow to get into a shootout with Bama, with Stetson Bennett out there starting and playing. We gotta get on the board very early. We have to keep scoring. The minimum of quarter that we need to score is 10 points. Minimum. We cannot leave a quarter with just nothing or just with 3. We gotta have a minimum of 10 points each quarter. That means that's like 40 towards the end of the game. We have to have that. If we don't, you can probably let it. Depends on how the defense. I just want us to control that tempo and control that clock like how we've been doing, because how off of Georgia offense, our offense is still not as explosive as it is. It has improved, but it's not as explosive still, like Bama or Ohio State offense. Ohio State has like one of the most explosive offenses like within the past couple years. Them and what's the name, Clemson, but Clemson kind of fell off because the quarterback that they have, DJ Ungale, if I'm pronouncing it correct, but he's not a good fit for that offense for Clemson. I think they need to just transfer him out back to the West Coast. He's not the offense that Dabo Sweeney is just not. So and Tony Elliott, that's just nothing that he's not accustomed seeing quarterback playing a slow game like that. But anyway, so we need to head out early. We need to run the ball very successfully. We have all the running backs, other than Kendall Milton being out, we still have J.S. Cook, Zamir White, Kenny McIntosh, and Dewan Edwards. Dewan Edwards probably not going to see the field, but of course the other three will, and I believe that they are going to have a very good day. Especially James Cook. James Cook is going to be our butter. Like, he can slide up in the slot and catch the ball too. You put him in a couple wheel routes, he's definitely going to catch them. He's the player that catches defenses off guard. I'm not really scared of Bama's defense. It's not really that good. Even though they're top 10, I think they rank number 8. It's not, of course, not intimidating as ours, but I'm not scared of their defense. It's only one player that I'm really looking at, and that's Will Anderson. That's a dude who has 14.5 sacks this season. So look for him to get doubled up. I don't think you really have to double him up, because if Jamari Sawyers end up starting in the game, I think Jamari can take him one-on-one. And if so, you put our big old tight end, Darnell Washington, number 0, 6'7", 270 pounds, like in there to block that. And Darnell Washington is an excellent blocker. So you just throw him off and then have people like Christian here, because they linebackers are slow. So it'll be interesting to see how they even going to contain our tight end, especially Brock Bowers, who can blow out a lot of players. Because once he turn on the jets and he's gone, he is gone. So, and George Pickens is back as well. Even Dominique Blaylock is back. So George Pickens being back, he came out, ran a couple plays, didn't catch anything and stuff. But the fact Georgia Tech, but the fact that he's out there this week, I feel like he's going to get more touches. From what I read, he was on 80% of the reps on the first team. That's good, because that means that he's out there in the starting lineup getting his reps in. So that's like an indication that most likely he's going to get a lot of playing time and getting the ball thrown to. So I'm definitely excited. Because of that, if Stetson Bennett, I want to make a bold prediction. If Stetson Bennett ends up struggling, you can put JT Daniels out there. That offense is going to implode, because JT Daniels can't get that ball to people like George Pickens and get it to Jermaine Burton. If anything that I know is that last year when he came in, him and George Pickens were like two peas in a pod. Damn, George Pickens had 120 plus receiving yards pretty much every game towards the tail end of that season. So I was like, including the Cincinnati game, including that game. So George, we have all our weapons. Even though we have some injuries, we have all our offensive weapons this year. This is definitely going to be exciting. Alabama, it came down to this. I'm glad that it did. I want Kirby Smart to get his win. Sad to say, Jimbo Fisher ended up beating the Crimson Tide earlier in the middle of the season. So it wasn't Kirby Smart to hand his first L as an assistant coach. But hey, we're going to be the first one to hand him the first L as the assistant coach in a championship game. So, I would like that, at least. So, but you guys tell me what you think. how y'all think the outcome of this game. Leave me your comments and everything else. Just be respectful. No nothing over the top. And see you guys on the next one. Peace.